has an incredible capacity to connect us, amplify voices that aren't always heard, and open doors to a more inclusive tomorrow. That's why we support Canadian music with a focus through the TD Ready commitment on experiences that bring people together and break down barriers even when we're apart.
Hello there, my name is B, James B, and this is the Beaches Jazz Listen and Learn Lecture. I want to thank TD Bank and all the sponsors for the Beaches Jazz Festival. Check out beachesjazz.com and read up on all the things happening. This particular lecture, it's supposed to be inspirational. There's some truth-telling going on from some jazz masters. These are veterans who have been in the business for a long time. They do share one thing in common. They answer the questions very differently, but they have one thing in common. They're true to their art, and they're passionate, and they all feel very lucky to be artists. But I'm not suggesting everyone do this for a living. I'm hoping a lot of young people will see this and get inspired, but I'm not saying don't quit your day job. I'll give you an example. In 1968, the going rate for a jazz musician, say in a place like Chicago, you do 3 sets of music, they'll give you $100 per musician. Well, now there's still clubs in major cities that offer you $100 to play 2 or 3 sets of music. Some people do a pass the hat. They don't even give you a salary. So this is not a good time to try to make a living, but it's always a good time to make music, to make art, to do something from your heart, okay? So before I get on to my guests, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I don't assume everyone knows me, so excuse me while I blab for just a moment. And I have notes so I don't forget anything. When I was 5 years old, I discovered that art could be a profession. You could make money as a painter, as a dancer, as a director, a writer, a musician, of course. But all these things interest me, and I couldn't believe. I thought that actors were famous, and then they were rich, so they paid for the privilege to act. Now, aside from Paris Hilton, that's usually not the case. So what's interesting about the arts is that it may be harder to make a living than ever before, but people have to do it. It's a calling. So I hope that everybody will appreciate it. I know during lockdown, people were reading books, listening to music, and watching TV and movies. Well, that's all art. So we should value that and pay for it. So I wish you all luck in this field, and we're going to get to this in a minute. A little background. So in high school, I started a punk band, which morphed into a great band called Look People. That was the first real band I was in, and maybe the only, because we were the type of band that rehearsed 5 or 6 days a week. If we weren't rehearsing, we were touring or recording, and it was an amazing time. We were young, and it was a great industry at the time, so I know we got lucky. We put out some records. We toured with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Well, we were at Lollapalooza, and they became friends of the band. We did a whole bunch of crazy stuff in Europe. So we were basically between North America and Europe for 9 years. And then I went to the Royal Jelly Orchestra, and again, I was lucky because it was the end of the music industry as we know it. In the 90s, you could still get a big tour bus with your face painted on it and cross the country with a 14-piece band. Those days are long gone, but I was there for that, and it was a great memory, and I'll always treasure it. And I'm not jaded, I'm just seasoned. I know the industry kind of sucks, but it's here and we got to deal with it. And it's a new roadmap, and it can be exciting for people. So you got to stick with it. But I was lucky for that. We also even did the CBC show Friday Night with Ralph Benmergui. I was the musical director, and Look People played that. So it was really fun. From there, I went to a Bonsai Suzuki was the name of a pop band. That's my favorite. We put out 2 records. It was so much fun. Dave Howard and I did a record for California called the Deep Lounge Coalition. And it was like really kind of cheesy versions of rap songs done by Canadians. It was pretty funny, and we had a great time. And then it morphed into the Tiki Collective. That was the next project. Wonderful songwriters, really famous songs like you'd know, like Chelsea Bridge and Mood Indigo and Harlem Nocturne. So kind of a little Duke Ellington heavy, but a lot of good stuff on that, and crazy ass remix. Okay, so this isn't a commercial. I'm just letting you know I did a whole bunch of different kind of music during this career, and where was I here? And now Vesuvius Music. So this label is so interesting because it treats artists with respect. And I know, I've been lucky my whole life. I know I got lucky because I found somebody, Lorenzo Di Gianfelice, who loves music. So I've been producing a whole bunch of records. I've got some new records under the name James B Presents coming out very soon. As a band leader, producer, composer, singer, that wasn't a full-time career. It was, at times, I was making a living, but a lot of times I did other stuff. So I did TV shows for all the major networks pretty much, hosting or producing some shows. Jazz FM for 19 years, doing jazz in the city, and international tours, taking people to jazz festivals around the world. I wrote a book called Cocktail Parties for Dummies. I curated an art gallery. I ran a nightclub into the ground. So anyway, I've done many, many things. And now what I'm really happy about is I'm going to be talking to guys and women who are way older than me and way cooler than me and had way bigger successes. So we're going to find out what it was like. And we're going to start off with Gene DiNovi. Now, Gene DiNovi and I are old friends. He has a gorgeous piano on the 3rd floor of his house. He has to walk up 3 flights of stairs to get to his piano. And when he's in the country, he's got a country estate. It's an old church, another grand piano there, and he's got plenty of fresh air to go walking around in the country. So this guy's 93. He's done so much in his life, and I just love this guy. So he's played with Charlie Parker and Tony Bennett and Peggy Lee and Duke Ellington and everybody else. So here's a toast. We're going to go right now and get some advice and some stories from Gene DiNovi. First of all, let me ask you, when did you know, when you were young, when did you know that you wanted to make a career out of music?
Well, I think the initial thing, there's so many wonderful points that pointed to it, but I think if I could put it all in one package, it would be hearing Mel Powell. Mel Powell was with Benny Goodman when he was 16 and I was about 10, I guess, you know. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I worked with Benny Goodman after him, but I happened to hear a record of The World is Waiting, of a Canadian song, incidentally, called The World is Waiting for the Sunrise, which was a famous Benny Goodman record. They did it about 5 different times. But Mel Powell played a piano solo that just knocked my socks off, you know. I couldn't believe it, you know, that this guy, I guess he was born at least 5 or 7 years before me. Mm-hmm. But anyway, that was the first record. He was an incredibly gifted guy who did it all in 10 minutes and then went and became the head of the California Institute for the Arts and gave up jazz. Wow. But that record did it. Said, I got to learn to do that. You know what? I'm still trying to do it.
Well, you ended up playing with Benny Goodman for a little bit, didn't you?
Yeah, after him, about 7 years later, I was working with Benny, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was 1949, I made my first record with Benny Goodman.
Wow, 1949.
49.
So what was the early sign that you were on the right track? When you're a young kid playing. Yeah.
Well, I used to hang out on 52nd Street. I wasn't that crazy about going to high school. And so after a year and a half, my mother, incidentally, was very prosaic. She said, you don't want to go to school? I said, no, I want to play the piano. She says, all right, we'll go to work. Wow. And I did.
You got lucky.
15 and a half. So I walked around on 52nd Street, where all of the great players of the time were playing. You know, at the Three Deuces, at the Onyx Club, at all of those, you know. And so I used to go there. I used to go there on an afternoon. How they let me in, I don't know. But I used to sneak in and get a ginger ale. And I was sitting in with Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie when I was 15 and a half. Yeah. All of this stuff, incidentally, is in a very good book, which I wrote along with Jack Batten, called I Can Hear the Music on Wattpad. It's for free. So you can get all of his folks if you want it.
Did you have a time in your career where you were like, I don't like this business, I don't like this industry? Did you ever consider quitting or just stopping professionally?
No, it never crossed my mind. Of course, I was too hooked on music by then, you know. That was my hook, nothing else.
Right.
Unfortunately, a lot of the guys I grew up with were bad boys, and they ain't here now.
Right, right.
And that's the reason, you know. So I had to.
You're a
So
great
that-
ad for no drugs, because look at you at 93. You're a handsome fella. You're still playing piano. You're still walking
Well,
around having fun.
I don't know about the handsome, but I can still play, thank goodness, you know.
Yeah.
I always loved it, and I couldn't stay away from it, so I wouldn't know how to quit, you know.
What would you say to a young person who is about to enter the music business?
Oh, well, you've got to love it, because it ain't easy. Music is not an easy instrument, as some people say, you know.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult. It's so you have to have a lot of love for something that's difficult, but the rewards when they show up are worth it.
All right, Gene Denovi. You know, he has good advice. Do it with passion and take care of yourself. He didn't do drugs and he didn't drink a lot of alcohol, and I'm going to cheers that. Anyway, we're going to move on right now. We're going to go to stories from jazz royalty. This is June Garber. She is one of my favorite voices. She's got a brand new record coming out. She's got several out there. The new one is called Off the Carousel, produced and arranged by Lou Piemonte, and watch out for it. It's coming out in the fall. I think there will be a single coming out in about a month from now. So keep your eye open for June Garber. I got to talk to her in her home. So here we go. Here's June Garber. Can you tell us, when did you first know that you wanted to be a singer for a living, that you wanted a career in showbiz?
When did I know that I wanted to be a singer? I think, if I remember correctly, it was age 4. Yes. I think I became aware that I was extraordinarily talented in my own 4-year-old mind. And there was a time where I actually packed a suitcase and went 2 streets across in my little neighborhood and unpacked my suitcase on someone else's lawn and said, yes, I'm in Hollywood now and I'm ready for my career to start now. 4 years old.
What was the first aha moment where you said, I won't forget this moment, I'm on the right track?
I don't know whether I've had that particular moment, because as an artist, I think we're always doubting ourselves a little bit, and you never think you're there, even though the night may be magic, because it's filled with, I don't know, something totally intangible that you just feel in your gut. So I don't think there was one moment that I said, aha, I've made it, ever. Still waiting.
Did you ever consider giving up?
There were times when I was doing theater, and it was round Canada and round Canada on long trips. And then when you were on the road, you were also sending in audition tapes for the next show. So it just became kind of a merry-go-round carousel type thing where you could not stop and you were on this crazy spin. And the minute you got back, you were in rehearsals for the next show, and then at night you were performing. So yeah, but I didn't until I was forced to. And I was forced to because it wasn't an ideal lifestyle for my partner at the time to be traveling 100 months at a time. Yeah.
When you toured a lot.
Yes, yes, the whole year. Maybe I had in spaces 2 months a year where I was off and could could just relax a bit. But your mind's still going with the next show, learning the script, studying new songs, rehearsing new songs. So it was never ending, really. Tough.
Do you have a moment or two where you thought, I'll never forget this moment? Not the aha moment like I've made it,
Right.
but just this moment of like where everything in the world just seemed perfect while you're on stage.
Yes. I have had moments of magic and joy on stage. I can't tell you the specific place, but you can feel it when it's perfect harmony, so to speak, when you connect with the musicians that are on stage and the audience and you to the song. So it's this magic sort of triad thing where you're all entwined, and it's so ephemeral, but when it happens, it's just absolutely sheer magic. Yeah.
Okay, here's a big one. Advice for younger people who are now entering music and thinking about doing this as their life or as a business.
Right.
Advice for young people.
Yeah. And, you know, there have been times when I've been asked to give advice to young people who are starting out. And mostly it's about finding your space on the stage and finding, I know it's so hard, authenticity at that age. It's difficult because you haven't lived your life, you haven't experienced so much. But one thing, when I was a school teacher, because I used to tell my students, if there's one thing I'm going to teach you this year, it is how to think for yourself. And if you can find a connection to the true you at the time and really connect with the songs that you're singing, and then when you've connected, when you go on stage, pace the stage before your show begins. Find your spot, claim your space, and make sure that when you're connected to the songs, that you take that and you share it with your audience. That is vitally important, that you share with your audience what you're feeling. That would be it.
Sage advice from a goddess. Cheers, June Garber. And now to Dick Hyman. Dick Hyman! I like to sing his praises. This guy has had an incredible career. Choreographer Twyla Tharp has worked with him for her Broadway shows. He is one of the world's greatest living stride piano players. He had the first top 40 hit with an electronic song. Kraftwerk at the time were a rock band. They didn't have computers, and Popcorn, I don't know if you remember that one. That was 2 years later. So The Minotaur was the first electric hit. And it came from the Electric Eclectics of Dick Hyman, one of his 4 Moog albums. This guy made so many crazy records and so many tasteful records. He really has the longest career and the most amazing career. I haven't even mentioned yet 12 films for Woody Allen. He has done everything. This guy's an amazing musician. So this is going to be a bit glitchy. This is a Zoom that we did together, but the information you will glean is worth a few glitches. Here we go, Dick Hyman. Oh, I asked him, I should tell you right now, I asked him what was the secret to his long and diverse career.
I had a philosophy in those days to just take whatever came along. I wasn't quite sure where it would go, but I said yes. I did a lot of things that were probably a little intuitive and so forth, but it all worked out.
I think this is
and I learned from
inspirational.
experience.
I think it's inspirational for young people to not be afraid. Like, for example, you're a solo pianist, you're doing all these serious gigs, you're playing with all kinds of famous people, even an early show I saw with Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie. But then you go into, you're not afraid of Lowry organs or Baldwin organs or Moog synthesizers, and then
Yeah, but
soundtracks. Like,
there's
this
one
is all
thing.
daring.
There's one thing that's important. You can't do this all from some small town in, and I don't mean to put them down, in Nebraska. You have to be where it's all happening. New York City.
Yeah.
Or possibly it's Edinburgh's. But particularly New York. And you have to be prepared to meet people and go to people's offices and hang out and be prepared for a lucky break in meeting the right guy who has the right contacts, and this you have to be where it's at.
Advice for young artists or young musicians: should they have a part-time job? Should they follow their bliss? What do you think?
Well, it comes down to practical matters like do you have enough money to get by? Really comes down to that.
Mm-hmm.
Surely you have to have a living, or you have to have a family that will support you or something. But assuming that you've got that going, I think the only sound advice for a musician is to follow your impetus and keep on practicing.
Yeah. Now, your keep on practicing. I believe that was Teddy Wilson who said that to you. You won a university contest, a college piano contest, and got lessons with him. And he was, I think he was one of the first people, right, who told you, you got to practice every day.
Yeah. Well, it was a little more detailed than that. I'll be happy to recall it. Mm-hmm. I thought that I was playing, as a result of having taken a few lessons with him, I was playing better. And I said at one of these lessons with Teddy, I said, some days it seems okay. I'm playing fairly well, and I've noticed an improvement. Other days, not. Why is that? And he said the immortal words, that's why you keep on practicing.
That's perfect.
So that's about it. And I followed that advice my entire life, and I'm still practicing.
What about the moment, there are forks in the road, aside from getting married or having kids, was there a fork in the road you can look back at and say, wow, if I didn't move to that city or do that thing, who knows what I'd be today? It's only hindsight when you're older you can even think about that, but.
Well, one of the things that was certainly helped pave the way to everything else was that I got married. My wife and I got married very young, and she helped me in every way and was sympathetic and was always interested in what I was doing and setting certain things in motion which would help us in the career. And it was a genuine partnership, and it still is. And we've been married now 72 years, if you can believe it.
Cheers to you. That is unbelievable. And cheers. It's a theme. All right. Now, you see what Dick Hyman did there, by the way? If you don't do a lot of interviews, what he did is he took my question and he answered it the way he wanted. I said, aside from marriage, what is the most important thing? And he said, my wife is. Now, this is important for people. If you're young and you're going to be an entertainer, you can definitely be polite, but answer the question the way you want. If someone asks you a loaded question, you can say, point taken and ignored. All right? You can do whatever you want because it's your interview. And I love how he did that, because imagine his wife, 72 years. Of course that's going to be his answer, even if I told him don't mention your wife because I wanted to hear a different story. But he didn't have, that was the reason. So cheers, 72 years of marriage. Wow. Now we're going to go over to Jay Douglas. Talk about happily married. This guy's also been happily married for decades. And he is probably one of the most beautiful people I've ever met. One of the greatest, proudest Canadians. And he can sing everything. He can sing jazz and blues and gospel and reggae and you name it, he'll sing it. Here is Jay Douglas. All right, man. Jay Douglas, when did you first know that you wanted to be a musician for your life?
When in Montego Bay, where I grew up, started out, we had what you call now we had talent shows, and now you guys call it what Simon called his shows?
American Idol.
American Idol. Well, you want to talk about Jamaican Idol, man? Listen. That's where we started out first, and we had talent shows every year. What you had Simon, we had a gentleman, his name was Veer Johns, and he would come to Montego Bay once a month. And the winners of each month at the end of the year, we had a grand final. And the year, at the time I started out singing with another friend of mine whose name was Errol or Budas. That's the name. We were doing, and we were ready for it and everything. We thought we were gonna get first prize. So guess what? We became second because a little 9-year-old boy kicked the hell out of us. He sang the Lord.
You got to be careful with kids and animals. They'll always upstage you.
He sang the Lord's Prayer, man, and he got the first prize.
But is that when you knew? That's when you went, I love this.
After several talent shows, I knew that I wanted to be a professional entertainer. I wanted to do it, man.
When did you realize that you're now on stage and you're saying, this is a great moment, I'm on my way? Like, this is something I'll never forget. I've made it.
I was in Montego Bay and I got my first gig as a pro, and guess who was one of the guests on that show, the guest star? Millie Small, my boy Lollipop.
Yeah, that was a big hit.
Yeah, well, that's before I met her before she went to England soon after, and that's when she did the big hit in England. But after working with her and some other big name acts in Jamaica, I says, boy, I know I'm on my way. I'm on my way.
Now, did you ever consider packing it up? Was there a moment in your life where you went, I can't do this anymore, or maybe I should not do this and get a job?
Yes, right here in Toronto. This is a very good question. I got up one morning, said, no, man, I'm going to go back to school. Because I went to Central Tech and I was doing architectural drafting. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go back to school and go to, at the time it wasn't George Brown, it was another name, Provincial Institute of Trades, something like that. So I got up and Joyce said to me, my wife now, she said, where you going? I said, you know what, it's hard. You can't be working, paying all the bills. This ain't no good. I'm going to go to school and finish up with my architect. She says, whoa, she was on her way out too, to work. And she says, hold it, it's tough. Yes, but you better give it another try, because here's the deal. If you go and get another profession, you're not going to enjoy it like how you enjoy the music. And if you're not in the music, I don't think it's going to be good for us.
Wow. She knows you so well.
Yes, and she said, when it gets to nighttime, you're going to be fidgeting this home, and I don't think it's good. So let me continue to do what I can and give it a shot. Give it a little shot. And she was serious.
Now, aside from your amazing wife, aside from marriage, is there a moment where you made a decision and it changed your life? For example, you came to Toronto. That was probably a big decision. Was there a decision that you made that you said maybe your life would be very different if you didn't do it?
One of the best decisions I made was a friend asked me if I wanted a gig on a cruise ship. And I said, yes, I'll take it. I'll do it. Man, just like you, travel, it's the best exposure I've had. And following that, I ended up going to Hong Kong. There was a time Hong Kong was like my home.
Right.
I
And you
used to
never
work-
would have gotten to the Hong Kong if you didn't say yes to the boat. Yeah.
That's right. And the reason for bringing it up, James, I know it's good when you have classroom academic skills, but you're not educated until you get exposure to go with that.
Right.
And that's why I love talking and listening to you, because man, if I did not go to Cuba to do that festival, I wouldn't have met you.
Right. We met
First
at
time I
Cuba
met-
at the
Yeah.
Havana Jazz Festival.
That's right.
You blew my mind. You blew everyone
That's
away, the
right.
whole crowd. That's amazing.
And I remember the lady that was the friend that was there, the tall, beautiful lady. She was listen, I will cherish all those moments of traveling and getting exposure.
Yeah.
It's a decision, because a lot of guys at that time did not want to travel or go on a cruise ship. My first gig on a cruise ship, I was away for 5 months.
Right.
And
Yeah, you have to have a certain kind of personality, because it's okay money, but it's not big money. And most people think it's a terrible job. But if you love to travel, you love to meet different people, it's a great job.
Oh man, I have no regrets. It has done wonders. It taught me how to appreciate different cultures and see how blessed we are to be from Canada, man. Because listen, this is a great country. Some of the places I've been, nice and beautiful, but it didn't matter where I went to. I was always looking forward to come back to Canada.
Right on.
Yeah, God bless this great country.
Here comes the big question of all, and it's my favorite to ask, as I'm asking people who have seen a lot and traveled and had a career, what advice do you have for young musicians right now?
Yes. My advice to young musicians, they must be true to themselves. Do you love the music? Respect the music. Treat it reverent. Be a messenger of peace and love. Treat it, it's a gift. It's a gift. It's a gift. And we are supposed to be messengers of peace and love, and be true to the craft. Don't fake it. Don't just treat it because of ego and a personal agenda. Treat the music reverent. Treat it reverent and be true. Be true to the music. Be true to yourself. Be true. It's truth. Live in truth.
A toast to Jay Douglas. Someone should give him the Order of Canada. Just saying. Here is a friend of Jay and a fan of Jay, and this is someone I am a fan of, John Finley. His new record is called Soul Singer. I think it's one of my favorite records ever. And it's incredible. His voice is amazing. He started here in Toronto with John Lee and the Checkmates. And you can find footage on his website, John Finley, Soul Singer. If you go onto YouTube, you'll see Robbie Robertson and Ronnie Hawkins singing his praises. He left that band for Rhinoceros, the world's first supergroup, and that was in the late 60s. And he took a little break, and now he is full-time singing jazz, soul, blues, and whatever he likes. So we're going to go to his backyard here. This is John Finley. Can you remember the first moment, or describe the first moment when you figured out, I want to do music for my living? I want to make it my whole life.
So I'm in my first band. This is fall of 1962. And so I didn't have a car, but I was in a band with guys that were like, they were in college, one guy was in last year of high school. And so they're driving me home to Aurora, that's where I lived. They lived in Willowdale. And I'm going, man, I want to do this for the rest of my life. This is all I want to do. I love this so much. And and the one guy said to me, nah, you'll listen, this is just a thing you're going through like we are. You'll go to college and you'll get a career and you'll move on. And I said, no, I won't. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I got to do.
Okay, so tell me about the fork in the road when you went, I've made it.
Okay. It wasn't that I've made it. It was the turning point in my life when it was like, okay, I love doing this, and here's the moment when it becomes my life, my career, my vocation, everything. So it is March of 1965, and we, the Checkmates, we've been together for about a year, and we're all at this point decided to quit school, quit our jobs, whatever we're in, to be fully dedicated. And it was because this guy that wanted to be our manager was Bill Anthony, was saying, Irish bullshitter, was saying, you guys have got to quit the school, you know, you got to be committed or not. Well, he was right. So we all, and I remember the Sunday night, and my mom saying, you got to do your homework, John. I said, no, I don't. She said, yes, you do. You haven't done it yet. I said, no. She said, what do you think you're doing? I said, I'm not going back to school. She freaked. My dad freaked. And then by the next day, it was like, okay, John, you've made your decision. You do it. So, and the next day, I hitchhiked down to Toronto because I had a relationship with Levon and the Hawks. And they had asked me if I'd like to be in the band. And so I hitchhiked down to Toronto. I quit school, hitchhiked down to Toronto, met them at the Fifth Avenue Tavern on Bloor Street, just east of Yonge. And we got in the car and drove to East Lansing, Michigan, and to see John Hammond. He was finishing up in his club. And we went, all of us, over to the other side of town, and to sit in with all these brothers. And it was like L.C. Cook was there, Sam Cooke's brother. They were all heavy-duty blues guys. And so that was the beginning. And that was such a turning point, because that was like, now I'm in it. Now this is the real deal. Right?
On. Was there a moment when you thought, I don't think I can do this anymore?
Yeah, at the end of Rhinoceros. The Checkmates was a love job. Mm-hmm. Rhinoceros was grown up. And it was the focus in the Checkmates was so innocent and so spiritual and so not on purpose. And Rhinoceros was more like, we're a band, we're recording albums, and also we didn't love each other. Like the Checkmates, we loved each other. So by the end of that group, I thought that I had lost my love for singing. I thought, it was just something I had when I was in the Checkmates because I was a kid. And for the next few years, I was writing and I was living in LA, but I didn't think that I loved it anymore. And then so that was that time. I can give you the turnaround on that.
Please do.
The turnaround was when I met Alexander Hamilton, and he had the choir in Compton. And he invited me to come actually, I was doing a songwriter showcase, and for the last tune, we did a song of mine called Love Is On Our Side, and it was kind of a Spinners, gospel-y kind of thing. And he came up on the stage, and he brought his members from the choir. He said, hey, I'll do it. In fact, they came to my place and rehearsed a little bit. Mm-hmm. Got up on the stage, and he started playing church on his piano. And it just, oh my God, this is what got me into, this is what made me sing. And I went down and joined the choir, and I rediscovered my love for singing, my connection with my heart and my chords and my head, everything.
Right on. One last thing, do you have advice for people who are entering the business or have been in for a little while but maybe need a little pep talk? Whether they should keep their day job, whether they should go all in. What advice would you give to a young person?
I was so fortunate. I grew up in a time when you could make a living without a record deal. Today is such a different world. But I know one thing's always the same, and that is believe in your dream, because that's what you got. And that is your gift. Your gift, your real gift, is your dream and your passion. And everything else is acquired. So just love what you do and keep dreaming.
Cheers, John Finley. It's toasty in here. I want to thank the TD Beaches Jazz Festival for asking me in here. Thanks to our speakers. Thank you for watching, and please share this with wild, joyous abandon. Right? If you love music, please pay for it. And if you are a musician, if you have a song in your heart, please share it. All right. I'm James B. Thanks. Bye.
Music has an incredible capacity to connect us, amplify voices that aren't always heard, and open doors to a more inclusive tomorrow. That's why we support Canadian music with a focus through the TD Ready commitment on experiences that bring people together and break down barriers even when we're apart.